Alright, how's it going, everybody? Today, my name is Zach, by the way, Zach before Cash. I'm in your English class, and I wanted to talk about, well, the thing that we should all know about at this point. If you don't know what's happening, like, where are you? It's the coronavirus, people. Alright? And I'm gonna be blunt, you know? There are some people who don't know as much as they should about the virus. If you walk outside sometimes, you see people without a mask and you're thinking, why aren't they wearing a mask? What's their deal, huh? And then you should be thinking to yourself, well, these people clearly aren't very educated, you know? Like, these people clearly need to know how to stay safe if they want the virus to go away. I mean, it's not going to really go away on itself. Let's be realistic. But more people need to be informed about the virus just to be safe, right? Like, you see this guy on the screen. All right, he got kicked out for not wearing a mask in a store policy, which is completely viable. If a store has policies, anyone should abide by those policies. But we'll get into that later. That's a topic for later. I'm just giving you guys an example of, what kind of people aren't as educated about the virus. And maybe you don't know much about the virus. Maybe you'll find this video helpful. Who knows? I don't know, but all I'm here to do is to give you some helpful tips and advice, right? And the first tip I give you is, like, how should you protect yourself? And you may be thinking, yeah, I've heard this like a million times. Yeah, whatever. Well, you've heard this, but clearly some people haven't. Clearly this isn't second nature to some people, which is kind of surprising if you think about it. Everyone wants to stay safe. Everyone wants to keep themselves and their families safe, and this is kind of hard, right? Sorry about that. So, what should you do in order to protect yourself? I mean, always wear a mask outside, preferably like a medical mask like this, not like a really cotton mask. It's just like, it's been proven to keep out any just to protect yourself, or just to protect the virus from spreading to other people. And obviously washing your hands. You want to stay as clean as possible. Like, this is like ideal, right? I mean, like, you should be washing your hands regardless, but especially during this time, you want to be as clean as possible. You also want to not have any contact with people. Okay, you gotta be social distancing, And I feel like, I'm a broken record at this point, like, of other people. People are telling you to social distance, but I go around outside a lot, right? And I see people not necessarily, being socially distanced. It's actually surprising to me, Like, I had high hopes that for at least New York to, stay safe or to follow specific guidelines, but apparently people just don't know. And that's why I'm here, actually, So yeah, that's how you could, like, protect yourself, and this is like the simple thing. These are the simple things you can do. And for some people, this is all you can really do, and that's great. If you can follow by this, you have A, less of a chance to contract it, and B, less of a chance to spread it. And one thing that I didn't mention here, actually, is that what I like to do when I go outside is I like to wear gloves, like plastic gloves, or like, medical gloves, like nursing gloves, because, I just want to avoid contact with any surface, and I think that's a really good, thing to keep in mind. Like, you see this guy above here? You may know who this guy is, but look at him. He's wearing a mask. That's already better than, like, 30% of Americans, so there you go. Alright, now why do you need to know all this? Well, there are people who don't understand that this is just a logic. Like, there's no other way to convey the message, right? You see, like, Donald Trump is a huge, a huge person that's against wearing masks and just wants people to get out there, right? And that's a horrible perspective for people to have. He's basically encouraging people to go against what what the CDC is telling you, and that's just to remain safe, right? And that's the problem about, especially America as a nation, why the numbers keep going up, is because, Donald Trump is like enforcing it. He's telling the American people, hey, go out there, it doesn't matter, right? And a great example from him is that he caught the coronavirus himself, but you know, he made a statement that, oh, it wasn't so bad. Oh, you know, it's not so bad, guys. Which, you know, gets a lot of his followers to think, hey, like, it doesn't even matter if I get the virus. I'm just gonna be fine, right? Well, that's wrong, first of all. And second of all, think about all the other people you could be spreading it to. That's not, you know, just don't think like Donald Trump, essentially, right? Yeah, they just think it's like a folktale or some sort of like, you know, illogical statement, you know, that the coronavirus is real even, you know. I can't believe this. Like, some people don't even think it's real. You know what I mean? That's pretty terrifying, you know. To think that some people don't even think it's real, like that it's some sort of like government hoax, right? I can't, like, just saying that makes me roll my eyes, right? So, sorry, like I was saying before, this has caused a huge political divide, right? You know, Donald Trump's followers, mostly Republicans, you know, they say no to masks because apparently it's some sort of, you know, it's some sort of violation of their civil rights. I don't really understand that, but you can see, based on the events of 2020, right? Like, there have been massive outcries, public freakouts. There have been cases rising, like in New York right now, our cases are above 3%, which is really scary if you think about it, because you might think, oh, 3%, right? Like, that's nothing. But then you think that that New York consists of over 8 million people? Think about 3% of 8 million. You know? Just, let me give you a perspective, right? You don't have to do the math. 3% of 100 is 3. That's 3 out of 100 people. Now just think about that 8 million, right? And just think how easy it is for those 3% to spread it to other people. This could be detrimental, but, you know, according to the political beliefs of some people, this doesn't really matter to them, and it's pretty terrifying to think about, you know, just so you know. And this is an interesting topic. How are other countries handling the coronavirus, you know? You think of America and it's like, oh, America's doing so poorly with the coronavirus. Oh man, like, you know, the situation's just getting worse and worse and worse, which, yeah, it totally is, right? But America is as, you know, despite what you think and despite what I think, America's a strong nation, and they have a lot of resources that some other countries don't, right? So, in some European countries, you know, their situation isn't as good. And, you know, stricter lockdown conditions, people are separated from their families because of lockdown. Things are looking grim all over the world, especially if you look on the news. Like, I don't have it here, unfortunately, but I've heard about Italy is in a horrible spot right now, and it's really depressing to see what they're going through, you know? I have a YouTube video which I actually want to show you. I'm only going to show you the first minute of the YouTube video because I feel like, you know, the whole thing is just too much. If you want to see the YouTube video in its entirety, you can go down to the description of the video. I'll most likely have it there, or you can just copy this link in my slides. But now I'm going to show you the video we're going to go to right now. And we're just going to watch a minute of this. So I'm going to be quiet for a minute.
This is what Rome looks like this evening after lockdown restrictions have been eased. The bars and restaurants of the Campo de' Fiori are not exactly jumping tonight, and the police are ensuring it stays that way, because this has been only a very small move away from some of the toughest rules in Europe. There was traffic back on the streets of the city this morning, a sight barely seen for 2 months. Buses running and a chance to return to work for 4 million Italians. For the first time, people are being allowed out of their houses to exercise. Coffee shops and some bakeries have been allowed to reopen, though strictly for takeaways only. And always, for everyone, a metre apart.
Good morning, Fabrizio.
But for Fabrizia Marcelli, there's something much more important happening today.
Should we go and find your mother?
Sure. Quite excited.
Despite living just 15 minutes walk away, she's not seen her mother since early March.
And that's what can happen to some people, you know? You look at the situation of some people, You know, especially in European countries, and you heard the story, people have been separated, you know, from their families. And that's pretty staggering. You know, that's pretty terrifying to know. What if you were separated from your family, right? You know, that could be traumatizing for anybody. I wouldn't want to be separated from mine, let's just say that, okay? So, I will have the entire video if you wanted to see it. I just didn't want to take up too much of your time, and I'm probably already taking up too much of your time, but I shouldn't be, because this is important information that I think everyone should know. So we're going to keep going. And this is a huge topic that honestly has been subsiding recently. I haven't heard too many people talking about it, but how is the coronavirus impacting smaller communities? You know, you hear that the article titles like, oh, the coronavirus is racist, oh, the coronavirus is targeting African American and Latin people, right? And, you know, they're making it a little bit more exaggerated with those titles. I mean, obviously they want to draw on a good audience, right? But essentially, the reason why it seems like this way, and it kind of is because of, like, when it comes to poor communities, right, and most of them, unfortunately, you know, realistically, they involve African American, Latin people, you know, they don't really have as many resources as, you know, wealthier communities, or, you know, I guess the words you would call it is good neighborhoods, right? So they can't get treated. You know, especially the healthcare in this country is awful. The healthcare in this country has been awful for, you know, the longest time I can think of, right? Imagine how bad it is for these people. They can barely afford to get a trip to the hospital. So not only is the virus spreading to more poor people or poor communities, it's actually killing more poor people and in more communities, such as like African American or Latin people, you know. And it's not necessarily just those groups, but, you know, statistics show that those are the most affected, and this is probably the cause for it. This is most definitely the cause for it. And unfortunately, yes, I mentioned the president doesn't really care, clearly, and this is horrible timing following the events of the Black Lives Matter movement. We all know how impactful that was, but that's not what we're talking about today. You know, you have other people in the class that are talking about this, but I just wanted to touch up on it. That yeah, it could be better. Let's just say. All right, now moving on. How are doctors and scientists working towards the vaccine? Yeah. So, you know, you always think, like, when is the vaccine coming, right? When is it coming? When is it coming? How far away are we, right? And they're working day and night, trust me. Essential workers are out there working probably close to 22 hours a day. Can you imagine that? You know, I'm a guy that likes to procrastinate on my homework. I'm recording this video a day before it's due, right? I'm recording this video yesterday, right? So imagine, you know, how much trouble these people have to go through. But that's for a later topic. What I'm basically getting on is that doctors are trying their best, right? And, you know, the president is trying to say, hey, we're gonna have a vaccine like next week, or, you know, 2 weeks from now, which is not true, all right? It's not possibly true, based on the amount of phases, of testing phases, and, you know, they'll have to go through before it's even distributed to the public. And for a vaccine to be distributed to the public, it needs to be 100% approved. Not 90%, not 95%, not 99%. It needs to be 100%. It needs to work. It just needs to work, right? So, if you think about it, you know, how long will this take, right? And especially with the virus being an extremely deadly virus, it mutates, and the doctors, they need to keep up with the virus, which is very scary. You know, it's basically a race for the vaccine at this point. So, you know, people are projecting in a year, you know, maybe by the summer of 2021. But I have an article down here, which I will have in the description of the video, most likely. If not, it's here. This goes more in depth on what, like the tracker of the vaccine and how it's going on. And yeah, one thing before you go, okay, that's really all I had to touch up on in this video. If you have any friends or family that, you know, you see don't wear masks, or you know, they talk to you about, oh, the coronavirus is just such a dream, it's not real, or, you know, any of that kind of crap. You know, if you found this video inspiring at all, which maybe it's not very inspiring, you know, because it's just me talking over a bunch of slides, right? You know, who cares, right? But if you did find this video entertaining, or you did find this video informative for the most part, you know, tell people about it. You know, show this video to them, and maybe they can help to make a difference, right? And you know, you think of one thing I wanted to remind you guys of is how important it is to stay safe, okay? Because you may think, you know, you're watching this video, you know, and let's say you're 18 years old like me, right? You think to yourself, hey, I'm 18, the virus isn't gonna kill me, I'm gonna be fine. But then you think to yourself, you should be thinking to yourself, well, what about my family? You know, your family is much older than you are, right? How will it affect them? So worry more about other people than yourself when it comes to the virus. And for anything, really, but especially when it comes to the virus, because you don't know if you could be bringing that virus into your own house and, you know, killing your family, right? I mean, that's very morbid to say, but that's basically it, right? And yeah, just everyone has to stay safe, stay healthy, you know, wear a mask, goddammit, I know, I see you over there, you don't wear a mask, yeah, I see you. Anyways, I hope you all learned a very important lesson, and take care.